So this will be a little bit different of a series. As you can see, you're not seeing me directly, but this is a live, well, not live. This is like, well, I guess live action, right? Like you're actually seeing me, but you're only seeing my hands. And the reason for that is because we're going to be doing an intro to Arduino. Arduino is just a development kit that allows you to do both software and electrical engineering put into one thing, right? It teaches you a lot of different things. And so here is the kit that I have. It's not exactly Arduino project, but it's Elegoo, which is like an off-brand Arduino, okay? They're just as good, just as great as Arduino, perfectly compatible with Arduino and the same sort of systems that are in the Arduino. So this is the most complete starter kit with the Mega 2560. There's a lot of different things in it, right? So like a bunch of different things here. Has a list of inventory right here. As you can see, there's a lot of different things in here. Okay, a lot of different fun things like an ultrasonic sensor, a servo, potentiometer, relays. Here is a another board, little fun disco light board, right? Just a fun little light right there, right? Some more power boards. IR remote. Here is a analog stick. Right, the marble and the spring don't actually come in that. Those are my own things. We have a motor, the fan, battery, right? Clock. Use that for like a counter system, scoreboard. Just a bunch of fun things in here, right? A bunch of wires. Yeah, the wiring's like. The wires are a bit messy, but yeah, that's something. Now, some of the stuff in here, actually, I've already taken out some stuff, and I'll introduce you to the, these are gonna be the important components that we're gonna go over. In these first few episodes of the series. So, this is the Arduino Mega. Well, this is technically the Elegoo version of the Mega 2560. The USB-B port that connects to your custom to your computer that has the custom code on it with the Arduino software. A bunch of different pins. You can search out the pin layout on your own because I'm too lazy to explain that. But yeah, so you have a reset button, just a bunch of different pins, digital, analog, a few SPI pins. You'd have to look at the pin layout to remember the pins. I think it's in the 50s, like 51, 52, something like that. 52, 53, and 54, or 51, not 54. But yeah, so. And you can actually put these in like series, connect these to on your laptop, and you can have a master-slave thing, sort of system, master-slave sort of system, right? That'd be pretty fun. But yeah. So this is the Mega, basically the heart of the entire thing. You have power, ground, and all that stuff on here. That good stuff, you know? All right. Here is the breadboard, okay? If it'll come out of the freaking box. That'd be great. There it is. So it still has. So I still have the back on. I haven't taken it off, but it's actually a sticky part. You can stick it on something if you want. But yeah, it just has a bunch of these little holes. You can stick wires in. So here's an example of a wire. You just stick that in. You have plus and minus parts. The minus is always connected to the ground, and the plus is always connected to the power. Okay. And then this would just allow you to have like a huge system, so that's like not, so you don't have to like solder all of your wires. Maybe I'll do an intro to soldering in the future, but that'd be pretty dangerous. So maybe not now because I don't actually have my own soldering equipment, but perhaps in the future, right? So that is the breadboard, which we'll use in a little bit where we get into our intro. So here are a bunch of just different wires and stuff like that, right? Just like you have long ones, you have medium-sized ones, you have short ones, like really small ones, and then you have like, so these are all male to male, right? You have an input end to an input end, right? But then you also have, sorry, not input, output end to an output end, right? But then you also have some other ones like this one, right? This is a male to female. Right, so it has a female end. Don't ask why it's called female. Right, so you can actually stick these connectors in like that, right? So that's a male to female connection. All right, so the male end goes in and the female end takes in. So this is an output and this is an input. Okay, and then here is another one of those male to female ones. All right, so they come in also different sizes. The male and female ones are all the same size. Here's just a bunch of different electronics, like you have LEDs, transistors, buttons, potentiometers, a bunch of fun stuff, right? These are the things that we're going to be going over in these first few episodes, right? And then here we have resistor. Those are wires. Nope, don't want those. These are resistors. A resistor applies a resistance to the current, right? And so this will actually help protect your electronics from getting fried from too much power, too much current input, right? Because they might have a certain input current that they, have. If it's in series, right? Right, so there's a difference between series and parallel circuits. Hopefully you know the difference between series and parallel circuits, because this is an intro to Arduino, right? Hopefully you already know what series and parallel means, but I guess I can go over it in the future as well. Okay, or at least how to make a series versus parallel circuit. Here is your USB to regular here's your USB B to standard USB cord. This goes into the Arduino. This goes into the Mega, and this goes into the your computer. Okay, computer. Here I have wired this up, right? So I'll actually wire this up a little bit nicer for you to see. So I actually take the long end of the LED, and that connects to the power, and the short end always connects to the ground. So if I take this, plug it into the ground, right? So where's the short end? It's on the left. Plug it in front of the electronic. Then I'll take this one, connect that to the power. Boom, look at that. And we have light. It's bright, don't you think? Yeah, so that's just connected to the power. And I can actually take this and connect it to another pin, and then have it so that way it only works through connection with that pin, right? But this will give it power. I can actually think I can give it less power, right? Yeah, that's not as bright, don't you think? Right, so here's 5 volts, and then here is 3.3 volts. 3.3 volts, 5 volts. Five volts, 3.3 volts, 5 volts, 3.3 volts, 5 volts, 3.3 volts. That's never gonna get old. There we go, there's our 5 volts, okay? I'll take this out, because that's really, really bright. Okay, I'll remove these wires. So as you can see here, I'll unplug that. I have this, if this will focus. Plugged into the 5 volt, well, this is actually 3.3 volt. Plug this into the 5 volt and the ground, right? The ground, as you can see, the black wire will connect to the negative blue end, and the power will always connect to the positive red end. Okay, and then I have these wires to connect here, and then it runs like this, okay? So when I put this in, as such, and then plug in the Arduino, just like that, boom, you see? So I plug the long end into the power, and the short end into the ground, and then I get it to light up. And then I can actually take multiple of these, right? I can wire them up in series. Okay, and how would I do that? Well, I can actually decrease the amount of power that this is getting by, instead of using a wire, I can use the wire for the ground, right? But instead of using a wire for the power, I can actually use a resistor. So there's different resistance levels on these things. I will use I guess I can use a 5,000 resistor for this. 5,000 ohm resistor. Ohm is the unit of resistance. So then I connect that there, and I will connect this right there. Boom. You see that? Not as bright because of the resistance I've added. So that is actually a lot easier to see, don't you see? So this resistor is plugged into the power, and then that power is then distributed here. So I can actually show you, right? If I plug that in right here, it's not working. But if I plug it in right there, it is working. If I plug it in behind it, it's not working. If I just touch the wire, look, it's working. Plug it in, but if I plug it in from the side, look, it's not working. I can plug it in right here, and it is working, like that, boom. Because it works in series this way, in the breadboard, okay? But what I can actually do is I can also take another one of these, and put it in series with the other one, right? Just like that. Now I have two lights in series with each other. So that's how you would do that. Okay, so this is the code that we're going to use to make the light bounce, well, not bounce, blink on and off again. As I said before, that pin is 13, so what I do is I do this symbol, define, LED 13, so I'm defining this variable and giving it the value of 13. Okay, so that means that I'm saying that the pin, LED, is defined by, 13. Okay, so then I say pin mode LED output, meaning that I'm saying that any code that is sent to the LED should be an output rather than an input. Okay, then I'm digitally writing it. Digital write has two values, high and low. High normally meaning on and low meaning off, based off of the values that are given. And then analog write is normally given an actual value, right, like a numerical value. Okay? And so that's the setup. So that runs once. It's like an initializer method. Then we have a loop method. A loop method actually runs over and over and over again, repeatedly until you tell it to stop. So in this case, what I have is I set it to high, so I'm turning the LED on. Then I wait a little bit. Then I set it to low, so I'm turning it off. And then I wait a little bit, and then it repeats. Right? So I've already uploaded the code, so let's see what that looks like in person. Okay, so here is that code running, and it's a little bit creepy, but look, as you can see, this thing is blinking on and off and on and off again, right? That's literally all this code does, is it just takes this light on and off. Yeah, it's great, right? Yeah, it's much fun. If you want to give your friends like an epileptic seizure, you can up that like voltage or something like that, voltage output, I don't know. Give your epileptic friends a seizure, I don't know, that'd be something cool like you could do with that, right? And so that's just like an intro to like the Arduino system and the things you can do with that, but we'll actually get into more complex systems in the future, hopefully with like the breadboard, those things, this stuff, that stuff, wires, make it rain wires and stuff like that, right? Hopefully we'll get into more complex stuff with that in the future. And yeah, with that, I hope you don't have an epileptic seizure, and I'll see you in the next video.